fancy just reading a little bit of Ruth and listening to the owls really, really close by. So let's look at Ruth chapter 1, verse 1. In the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land. So a man from Bethlehem in Judah, together with his wife and 2 sons, went to live for a while in the country of Moab. The man's name was Elimelech. His wife's name was Naomi. And the names of his sons were Mahlon and Chilion. They were Ephrathites from Bethlehem, Judah, and they went into Moab and lived there. Now Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left with her 2 sons. They married Moabite women, one named Orpah and the other Ruth. They married Moabite women and one Orpah and the other Ruth after they had lived there for about 10 years. Both Mahlon and Chilion also died. And Naomi was left with her 2 sons and her husband without them. Now Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left with her 2 sons. They married the Moabite women, and they also died. Absorb that. She's lost her husband and her 2 sons. So right about now, Naomi's a little bitter. When Naomi heard in Moab that the Lord had come to the aid of his people by providing food for them, she and her daughters-in-law prepared to return home from there because she had moved back to where she came from, but now she was going back to Moab, where her husband had taken her to begin with. And she went to her mother's home. May the Lord show you kindness if you have shown kindness to your dead husbands and to me. May the Lord grant that each of you will find rest in the home of another husband, she told her daughters-in-law, Ruth, and the other chick, I can't remember her name. Then she kissed them goodbye, and they wept aloud. Wept aloud and said to her, we will go back with you to your people. This is what Ruth said. But Naomi said, return home, my daughters. Why would you come with me? And I'm not having any more sons who could become your husbands. And as they wept aloud, I'm skipping down to 14. At this they wept aloud. Then Ophrah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, and Ruth clung to her. Look, said Naomi, your sister-in-law is going back to her people, her gods, back to her. Go back with her. But Ruth replied, don't argue me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates you and me. When Naomi realized that Ruth was determined to go with her, she stopped arguing with her. So the 2 women went until they came to Bethlehem. When they arrived in Bethlehem, the whole town was stirred because of them. And the women exclaimed, can this be Naomi? Don't call me Naomi, Naomi said. Call me Mara, which means bitter. Okay, so I know in chapter 8, Ruth and Naomi went through a time of being hungry, so Ruth went out to the field, met Boaz. Turns out they're all kin through Naomi, but not Ruth. And in chapter 8,